Michael Saylor is about to buy some more Bitcoin, and Bitcoin continues to consolidate at this all-important range. In today's video, we'll be talking about exactly that, and at the end of the video, we'll also give a little bit of news regarding XRP. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So, Bitcoin. I firstly need to address yesterday's video. I got a lot of negative comments from people saying that I have absolutely no clue what I'm talking about, getting extremely emotional about the price action of Bitcoin. I just want to remind you guys that when people get emotional, whether Bitcoin goes up or down, it's usually a good indication that they are about to get wrecked. And if you missed my last video, I would recommend that you go ahead and watch it. But a quick summary would be, we talked about how Bitcoin is currently at this previous breakdown point and that it is entirely possible that we would get rejected at this level. Now, I gave the bullish and bearish case scenario, but of course, people don't tend to stick around and watch the entire video. But let's get into it. Looking at this chart, we can see that Bitcoin is still chopping around this same range. Now, we are above 91.8K, which is a very important level because, as I've been discussing thoroughly, we have held this level as support multiple times before Bitcoin went ahead and put in a new all-time high. So if Bitcoin does correct here, firstly, I would be expecting at least some kind of support towards the top of this orange line, which is the bull market support band, and also at the bare minimum right here, 91.8K. If we can't hold those levels of support, Bitcoin will be heading much lower in my opinion. Don't freak out just because I said that, because the positive news here is that if we can chop up and get back into this important zone and hold it as support and chop around for a few days there, I would be expecting Bitcoin to be going much higher. You can have two kinds of outlooks on the market, and I'm not going to be one to tell you that I will call everything perfectly in the crypto market, because no one can, and any influencer that tells you they know exactly what's going to happen to Bitcoin is simply lying. No one has a crystal ball. What we do on this channel is we play the probabilities and we make our trades accordingly. So if Bitcoin can move up here and chop around, I do think that it can potentially hold it as support before we move higher. But if we continue to get rejected around this zone, as I said in yesterday's video, I think it is entirely possible that we at least retest 91.8K, and then if that level does not hold, we will be heading lower past the bull market support band. Try to remove all of your emotions from trading. And that reminds me, if you want to trade this market, you have the first link in my description down below, which brings you directly to Weeks. You can earn a fantastic 20% deposit bonus with my link, which means that if you deposit, for example, $5,000 into your Weeks account, you get $1,000 back for free for trading, and all you need is an email and a password to sign up. I would highly recommend this exchange. It's the first link in my description down below. Michael Saylor, let's address this. So Saylor came out and posted this on his X account: "Stay humble, stack sats." Now, to many people, this is just an ordinary post. He's just supporting Bitcoin as he always has. But this indicates to us that he will be announcing that he bought Bitcoin tomorrow. That is my prediction. And the reason why, first of all, if we take a look at the Saylor tracker, here are all of the dates that he accumulated Bitcoin. And what he tends to do before he actually announces his buy is that he announces he will be buying. Don't believe me? Let's take a look at the history. On April 20th, Michael Saylor put out this post with his chart showing his Bitcoin accumulation, insufficient orange. Then on April 21st, he went ahead and announced that he bought 6,556 Bitcoins for around $500 million. And this is not the only time he's done this. On April 13th, he came out and said, "No tariffs on orange dots," sharing the same exact chart once again. Then, you guessed it, on April 14th, he came out and announced that MicroStrategy accumulated 3,459 Bitcoins for just under $300 million. And just in case you needed more proof, on March 30th, he came out and said, "Needs even more orange," sharing the same chart. And of course, on March 31st, MicroStrategy has acquired 22,000 Bitcoins for just under $2 billion. So the fact that he posted this today as I'm recording this video on April 27th, it would suggest to me that tomorrow there will be a MicroStrategy Bitcoin purchase announcement. Now the question is, how much Bitcoin will he actually buy? Because the last two purchases were well under $1 billion. My prediction here would be that he'll likely be buying more than $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. I think that he's playing a very dangerous game. I know he has long-term conviction, as I do in Bitcoin, but you can see that he actually started to accumulate Bitcoin all the way back here, September 2020, buying at levels below $20,000, but at that time he wasn't buying so aggressively. People make fun of him for often buying the top, but it's not a lie. As we can see on this chart, he bought a ton of Bitcoin above $100,000. I would hope for his sake that if Bitcoin does end up getting a correction rejected from this range, that he will still be able to buy a lot more if we are to go lower. And just briefly, let's zoom out here and take a look at the weekly Bitcoin chart just to see where we stand. So we can observe that we did tap back into this level on the weekly chart, but it's only been a wick. Now the positive sign here is that if we do get the weekly close like this, which looks very likely, that would be a weekly close which is one, above the bull market support band, which is this green line and this red line over here, positive, and above the bottom of the range around $91,800. So a weekly close here is indeed a positive sign if we zoom out. Now you might be asking, why am I even saying this if in yesterday's video I presented the bearish case scenario? That's exactly what it is, a bearish case scenario. And I still think that in the immediate short term, if we go back to the daily chart here, Bitcoin would be likely to get rejected. But that doesn't mean that we're going to be putting in a brand new low for Bitcoin. You'll remember on the channel that I was very vocal around the 100K level that Bitcoin would likely go ahead and retest the previous year's high, which so happened to be right around this level. As we can see, if I zoom out on this chart, the previous year's high was right around here, give or take a little bit lower, around $73,500, but you can never be perfect. And so if this ended up being the ultimate bottom for Bitcoin before we go ahead and move much higher, I would be very happy because I accumulated a lot of spot Bitcoin at these levels. Now, in the short term, I still think, as I said, that we could potentially roll over here, but maybe the 91.8K level will continue to act as support, and then we can go ahead and potentially move much higher. But there's a lot of things that we need to consider here. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, we have the stock market to keep our eyes on. If we can't get back above the 200-day moving average, which, let me just show you quickly, would be right around this level, 5,746 for the S&P 500. If we can't break above this level and we end up rolling over at this level or even sooner, as I alluded to in yesterday's video, then there is a strong likelihood that Bitcoin would be rolling over. It's a probability game. No one knows exactly what is going to happen here. But one thing is for sure, we are going to have a volatile week. Here are all the events for the week. First of all, we have the CB consumer confidence data, which comes out on Tuesday. Then the March JOLTS job data on Tuesday as well. On Wednesday, we have the US Q1 2025 GDP data and the March PCE inflation data. That one will be super important. And at the end of the week on Friday, we have the April jobs report. Over the course of this week, we will get a quarter of the S&P 500 companies sharing their report earnings. So this is about to be an extremely volatile week. As I'm sure you understand by now, if the reported earnings are lower than expected, the S&P 500 could see a little bit of a more severe correction. And of course, this would impact Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market. And to wrap up this video, let's quickly talk about XRP. Now, a lot of you know that I'm not necessarily the biggest XRP fan, but the SEC has approved a public launch date of April 30th for ProShares Trust XRP ETF. This is massive news for all XRP holders, and I thought I would give credit where credit is due. I was expecting XRP to get a little bit more of a pump than we saw. Right now, it's only up 1% on the day, and there's many other altcoins that have been performing better lately. And so this is a little bit of a surprise, but ultimately over the medium to long term, this is super positive for XRP. And lastly, taking a look at the Bitcoin spot ETFs, we had billions of dollars of inflows last week. Let's see if we can keep up this inflow streak. I honestly hope so. And I also hope that Bitcoin can continue to grind higher to hold this level as support so we can go ahead and put in a new all-time high. For now, as I'm recording this video, as I've said, my base case is that we will be getting rejected from this level, but we might be able to reclaim some very important support levels right here, the top of the bull market support band, and all the way down to $91,800. Let's see how things develop. And that sums up today's quick video. Michael Saylor is certainly going to announce that he bought some more Bitcoin on Monday, and we have some great news for XRP holders. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.